They do great job programming stuff. They just narrative, like, you know, police are racist, this and that. I'm not saying police aren't racist, but as a whole, if you look at it, it's a lot more complicated than that. One of my best friends got shot like 4 times by the cops, but he was doing criminal.
Tired of feeling like your voice is being drowned out on social media? It's time to experience the new Parler, where your voice is heard, your opinions matter, and your freedom to speak is respected. Parler is back and it's better than ever. Reimagined to give you the ultimate control over your content. No confusing algorithms deciding what you see. No hidden agendas. Just real, authentic conversations. Share your thoughts, connect with like-minded people, and be part of a community where your free speech truly thrives. At Parler, your privacy is always a priority. Your data belongs to you. We're here to empower users, not control them. Whether you're engaging in discussions, sharing news, or just staying connected, Parler is the platform where you are in charge. Ready to take back control? Download the Parler app today on iOS or Android and join the movement. It's your voice, your platform. Let it be heard. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store today. Download Parler now, where you have the power. All right, guys, we are live. We got Jake Shields here today, and man, your Twitter's been blowing up.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just, you know, for the most part, I just have fun and post. Obviously, I share my real opinions, but if sometimes, you know, might be a little exaggerated because exaggeration's fun on Twitter. That's what goes viral. So it's gonna have fun on there, and it's been blowing up the last year or two.
It's cool to see you just be able to voice your opinions freely, though.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I still get to spin it occasionally, but before I was like spin it all the time before Elon bought it, and my page had stopped growing. I was badly shadow banned. I could just tell, like, it was barely worth tweeting because nothing would ever go viral. Stuff would rarely go viral, and there was like no growth for a good year and a half. And then Elon bought it, and I put on, you know, 500,000 followers added since Elon bought it. So.
Damn, shout out to Elon. No, it's cool though, because with pro athletes, you never got to see their true side because of all the censorship. But now I feel like it's a new era.
Yeah, it's great. I actually wish I was using Twitter when I was fighting. I just had my manager run it, you know. After fighting, I started around politics, and I realized that, you know, I wish I was doing this with fighting because it gets your word out, lets people see your real personality, can help grow fans. But when I was fighting, I was just so laser focused on fighting, I didn't pay attention to other stuff. Looking back, I wish I did, because that's how you market yourself and make money.
Yeah, a lot of athletes go broke after.
Yeah, it's sad seeing the. There's actually less in fighting than some other sports, surprisingly.
Oh, really?
The opposite.
Yeah, you think fighting would be the worst.
Actually, a lot of guys have like college degrees and they're smarter, so a lot of guys get into other business. So I've definitely seen a few friends go broke, and it sucks. But overall, a lot of my friends are actually doing really well, and, you know, maybe not like crazy rich, but the majority of the guys are at least like lower millionaires and stuff. And, you know, some guys are multi-millionaires I know doing well.
You know what? That's really impressive, actually, because the fighters get a bad rep for being underpaid.
No, it's true, they are underpaid, but there's a lot of backdoor money, especially on the high-end guys. So a lot of the low-end guys are really making those crap pays, but there's some hidden and backdoor money. And if you're smart, there's tons of sponsorship, other stuff. So, I mean, I made more money doing other stuff than just fighting.
Oh, wow. From the sponsors.
From just sponsors and working with people, you know, having fame. If you're smart, that can make all kinds of ways to make money.
Yeah.
If you're not, then it doesn't.
And you had a long streak, right? 15 straight wins.
Yeah, I fought professionally for 20 years.
Holy crap.
I had one streak where, I went 15 in a row winning, but that was against extremely good opponents. It wasn't like a padded record. It was 15 versus
It wasn't like
guys.
A boxing 15
I was beating guys like, you know, Dan Henderson, Damian Maia, just going through just like studs in that 15-0. So I mean, Robbie Lawler in that batch. So it was, you know, when you're on a streak like that, you're just so gung-ho and focused. That's why I wasn't really paying attention to politics, the outside world, wasn't really watching TV, wasn't, you know, when you're doing that while fighting, you're not really doing much else.
Did you ever think it would end, that streak?
You didn't think it would end, but you're just so confident when you're a streak like that. When you're going through, you know, using the UFC, if you have a 4 or 5 win streak, that's considered really good.
These days, yeah.
Yeah, but when you're on like 15, like I said, it's different if you're like fighting lower level guys, but when it's 15 versus high level guys, it's a crazy streak. You just start feeling unbeatable. You know?
Yeah, because you're fighting top 5, top 10 guys every fight.
There was a couple fights, you know, like Dan Henderson, for example. I went in there like a 4-1 underdog and just like smoked him. I was just so confident.
Damn.
You know? Yeah.
Wait, so how are you an underdog if you're on a winning streak?
I just think because I moved up weight to fight him, and Dan Henderson is an absolute killer. He was, you know, a huge name. It was, you know, the guy's a killer. So that was one. I was usually the favorite, but that was one of the few that went in a big underdog. Damn. Anderson, I mean, he is a savage. That was a scary fight to take.
I bet. And moving up is already hard enough.
Yeah.
A lot of guys that move up these days lose.
Yeah, because it's big weight gaps in MMA. Boxing usually has 7-pound weight gaps around.
Yeah.
In UFC, it's usually like 15.
Holy
big jump, you know. If I was fighting 170 and then jump to 185. And everyone cuts a lot of weights, you know. So it's like if you're fighting 170, you know, walking around 190, But then I jumped to 85. These guys are coming in from like 210.
Don't let allergies keep you up at night. Sambrosa Night Syrup is your more homeopathic solution for a restful night. Blending the sweetness of a honey base with 7 organic herbs and a small dose of antihistamine, Sambrosa provides effective relief from allergy symptoms while calming your body for a peaceful night's rest. It's over-the-counter, gentle, and made from the ingredients you trust. Wake up refreshed with Sambrosa Night Syrup. Visit Sambrosa.com today and rest easy tonight.
So it's a big jump.
That's crazy. Who do you think the best fighter is right now, active fighter?
Oh, man, that's always a possible question to answer. You know, there's so many good guys. Outside the UFC, I'd like to say there's this guy, Patchy Mix, 135-pounder, absolute phenom. I think fortunately, he's not in the UFC. He's a Bellator champ, but he's just smoking people.
So he's probably going to get signed.
The UFC's been trying to sign him, but he's getting a lot of money at Bellator. So
really?
It's kind of I think he's getting like $1 million a fight or something at Bellator.
Holy
I don't know
crap.
exact figures, so I probably shouldn't be saying figures, but I know he's getting a lot of money there, and most of the 135-pounders in UFC are making $100,000, a couple $100,000. So probably the champ, Sugar Sean's probably making more than that. They said they make it hard to know their exact contracts because they give you money and stuff. So Sugar Sean's probably making more than that, but I would guess Patchy's probably making more than any UFC 135-pounder other than Sugar Sean.
Sean's done phenomenal at branding.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and he's a guy I'd hate on a little bit in the past because he had a fairly padded record, but his last few wins have been impressive, man. He's beaten some really good guys. He's earned my respect. I can't deny he's good.
Wow.
He has a really big fight with Merab. He's got Merab coming up. I don't know the date on that, but that's going to be a war.
Yeah, he's still undefeated, right?
Sugar Sean, I believe, is, yeah.
That's impressive.
Merab, I think, has maybe 1 or 2 losses, but he hasn't lost in a while. He's been killing people.
Yeah, there's not many undefeated guys left in the UFC.
It's hard because UFC, like I said, they don't pad the records like boxing. A lot of times a boxer, if you're a prospect, they'll give you 15, 20 easy fights to build up, and then you'll start fighting good guys.
Right.
But a lot of times they'll still avoid the best guys. They'll be like the management can pick the fights, but UFC, they tell you who to fight, it makes it great. So all the best guys fight each other.
Yeah.
And they don't view losses the same. You can have a loss, but you can bounce right back. In boxing, they're like, oh, you're not undefeated anymore. So I think that's part of the reason why UFC's gotten so popular.
What did you think of Ryan Garcia getting banned from boxing for, I think, a year it was, right?
Yeah, I just honestly don't know enough about it. It seems he tested positive for Ostrium or something. It's not a steroid. It's like it's a weird peptide thing. So it seems to me a little odd he would take that without. It seems like my guess would be it's probably a tainted supplement or something. It's just a weird thing to take that's not really that strong of a performance enhancer.
Yeah.
With knowing that you're taking this, you think he would have some kind of doctors or chemists, looking over him at the level he's fighting at. So my guess is it's a faulty test, but I can't say for sure.
Wow. Did that ever happen to you, like a tainted supplement?
Thank God, no. But I know friends it did,
Damn.
I did one time, took some a diuretic that someone's some guy's like, oh, it's fine, you could take it. And sure enough, it was banned. It was a minor thing, a few months suspension, but still sucked, got fined, got
just for trying to take a dump.
Because it's like diuretic, it pulled the waters out. So technically it was my fault for not researching it better because it was on the banned list. Helped pull because we cut 15, 20 pounds of water.
Jesus.
Through saunas and stuff, but the diuretic just helped pull it out through peeing and that type of stuff. But then I took it and it was a banned supplement. But I think it wasn't near as serious as steroids. I think it was like a 3-month suspension or something.
That's insane. So you cut 15 pounds in a day?
Yeah, that's standard.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it sucks, but everyone's doing it. So if you're not doing it, you're fighting someone 15 pounds bigger than you.
So the theory behind it is if you get rid of it, you're just better?
Yeah, well, it gets tricky because you got to cut weight, but sometimes if you overcut, you see guys gas out up there. So it's finding the perfect amount where where you're big for your weight, but you're not overcutting. Because there's guys that cut 25 pounds water.
Jesus.
Obviously, you got to have a little more muscle to do that. There's actually guys that cut 30 pounds.
What?
Guys like Tyron Woodley.
In a day?
Because they have so much muscle mass, they can pull water out of there.
Oh my God.
So there's different body types. You're not huge and jacked, so you'd probably 15 pounds would probably be really tough for you. But look at someone like Tyron Woodley. They have so much muscle mass, they can just pull it out.
Wow. So that is nuts, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Francis Ngannou, he fights heavyweight, but he still cuts weight. I imagine he can cut 20 pounds like nothing because he has so much muscle mass.
I could see that because he's already 200 something pounds?
290.
290, yeah, that's
so
a lot.
He has to drop down to 265.
Yeah. When did you start getting into politics?
Kind of a slow process. I was living in San Francisco, which is extremely left wing. Yeah. But I never really viewed myself, hard left or right. I just didn't really pay much attention. I think I was maybe slightly left leaning because I was anti-war, pro-free speech. But then I remember I first was at this guy Milo. Indianapolis or something. He's this like gay performer. He was out in Berkeley, and I was out there. I didn't know who he was. And there was just like riots all over the street. So I actually ran out there. I fought. No one was helping. Guys, Trump supporters were getting beat up on the ground. So I went out, fought a bunch of Antifa guys off. You know, I helped this one guy, threw this guy in this. I dragged him into a store. A couple Middle Eastern guys helped me bring him in. And I hear guys, they're like, knock the window out to get him. And then I hear a guy goes, oh, it's a person of color store. So that was kind of like wait, they're not going to knock the window out because it's a person of color store, but they would have for a white person. So that was kind of a wake-up call. Oh, and the same thing, after I helped one guy, I ran out to get cops, and the cops told me, oh, we're not allowed to go in there. So they were given stand-down orders by the mayor. So
Wow.
that's when I first started following a little politics. I'm like, off. And then it was really forced on me when they closed down the country for COVID. I was in San Francisco. My whole work was closed down. Like I wasn't.
Were you still fighting at the time?
I had just stopped fighting, so it was the worst possible time. So I had like no work, nothing going on. I was like, I'm not a depressive person, but that's the closest I've been to depressed. You know, you stop fighting and they close down your work. San Francisco, I was living in an apartment. You know, you're paying like $4,000 for a little apartment. And you're like, I'm just sitting here. I have too much energy. I can't work. They closed down the hiking trails. They closed down the beaches. It was just crazy. So it made me start following politics. Then once they got the vaccine, they told me, you know, I can't go to a restaurant. I can't go into any store without it. So it was pretty wild. You know, they forced the mask so heavy. And then during all that, the BLM thing happened with George Floyd, and there started being riots over the street. And they started being like, oh, no, this doesn't spread it. So to me, that was like, man, these people are just so full of it. So I think that's actually when I started using Twitter. Not the most. I was against the lockdowns and against BLM, which were both extremely popular at the time. Yeah. Now they're both unpopular, but at the time I got a lot of hate. But but I felt like that was speaking truth and I had to speak my mind. So I just kind of, you know, I think my first tweets were probably almost all negative, nothing viral, but I just kind of kept tweeting and slowly started growing a political base.
They got me with the BLM one, dude. I donated.
Yeah, I mean,
looking back
we all
at
made
it
mistakes.
now.
Yeah,
yeah, I know. Looking back at it, I'm like, holy. They did well with the programming on that one.
Yeah, they do great job programming stuff. They just finish narrative, like, you know, police are racist, this and that. I'm not saying police aren't racist, but as a whole, it's, you know, if you look at it, it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in a kind of a rough area, mostly white, you know, Mexican and stuff. One of my best friends got shot like 4 times by the cops. But,
damn.
But he was doing criminal So it's like if you're doing, you know, I've been beat up by the cops, but as soon as I stopped hanging out with those people and doing criminal elements, cops stopped harassing me. So it gets it's a little less complicated, you know. Look at all the situations. I think it was terrible police work, but the guy was, you know, he was high on fentanyl. He was, you know, he was doing illegal. It's not like they're attacking and beating up random people. Like
I didn't like
it out to be.
They hid the fentanyl part for a while. I didn't like that.
Yeah, a good chance he may have even OD'd, or that was a good or possibly a factor in it.
Yeah, I mean,
because someone that studies jiu-jitsu, like to choke someone, you have to come here as a carotid artery. This is where you put the blood out. The officer had his knee on the back of his neck, which I think that was a thing to do. I'm not trying to defend the guy, but you don't choke someone right there. You choke them with coming upward into the carotid artery.
Right, so it's impossible. I mean, it's probably possible, but it's way harder to choke someone out from the back.
I would say it's impossible. That's why they do he was doing the official training. That's how cops go all the time.
Yeah.
Even though I don't agree they should do that, I just don't believe they choked him out. And they pushed this fake narrative that he was choked to death when, you know, even in the trial, they didn't bring any like choking experts to discuss this. They didn't bring anyone. I don't think they wanted to win the trial. I think they just accepted he was a sacrificial lamb.
Wow.
They could have brought guys like me and we could have demonstrated that you can't choke that way. But
that's crazy. I've never heard that take, but that's important.
Yeah, I didn't know that at the time either. And I looked it up, and they didn't bring any experts. They brought some fighter that was not a jiu-jitsu expert, and he said they were choking him. But this is a guy that doesn't understand choking. For me, I've studied jiu-jitsu 30 years. I know exactly how to choke, where you got to put pressure, how you got to put pressure. And I can say with certainty where the knee was not choking him out.
That's insane.
Could it have done other factors to kill him? Maybe like some kind of panic attack or like that might have helped kill him, but he didn't kill him with a choke.
Holy crap. And that event sparked so much divide.
Oh, and it's crazy. Yeah, to me, it's crazy they didn't bring any jiu-jitsu experts to discuss the choke versus not choke, you know?
That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You think the police department or his lawyer would even want that? Like,
I think they wanted him to lose.
His lawyer wanted him?
It seemed like it. I don't think they put up a real case. I think they accepted that the country would burn if he got off, so they just kind of passed him away to, you know, I don't know what he got, like life in prison or what.
Damn, he got life?
30 years. It's a long time. And again, I think he was a bad cop. He maybe should have got something, but I think it should be more realistic. I think we just accepted the country had gone crazy. We didn't want more riots, so give him 30 years. Maybe like 2 years or something. The guy's already had his, lost his job. He's hated. He didn't intentionally kill him. I think they convicted him of first-degree murder, which would mean he had to intentionally kill him.
Holy
There's
crap.
no way he intentionally set out to kill him.
Yeah, it didn't look intentional from the video.
No, but it just shows you like how crazy they were at the time that they'd given it. That means he'd had to knowingly tried to kill George Floyd. Of course, he didn't try to kill him.
I've lost faith in the justice system after seeing what happened to Trump, dude.
Yeah,
Like it's actually scary because we're targeted. Like me and you, like we're targets for lawsuits. So it's pretty scary.
It is really scary because we see it. You know, like I said, I don't consider myself hard to either side, but I definitely lean conservative. And it looks like they've weaponized the justice system against us without. None of us really paid attention, but you had guys like George Soros was funding all these hardcore DAs and judges, and I don't really know how the appointment works, but they're putting in all these judges that seem to be anti-conservative, anti-white, like the opposite. You hear, the justice system used to work against black people, but now it's going the opposite way. They hate like white conservative males, and it's kind of scary. Like look at January 6th. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and defend what they did, but there's guys doing 30 years in prison for walking into the what's it
White House?
Yeah, not the White House. The wherever it was, whatever that building was. I don't think it was the White House. It was like where the Congress is.
Oh, okay.
But there's guys doing 30 years in prison for that.
Jeez.
There's no one from Black Lives Matter doing more than like a couple months.
And they committed financial fraud too. Like they kept a ton of money.
So it just shows like the guy shouldn't have walked in there, but 30 years in prison? That's
nuts.
That's absolutely insane.
It's scary, dude. I mean, and the people we talk to and are friends with, we're all targeted by this.
No, exactly. I know I'm a political target, so I got to be careful, particularly when you're in more left-leaning areas.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, I saw your recent tweet about Austin private wealth. That is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. I haven't done a lot of research on this, so it's something I can't get too into. I just saw someone else tweeted it. That just, the Austin research, I guess it's a big hedge fund or whatever.
Yeah.
They did a big short versus like Trump stock literally the day before the assassination attempt.
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And I guess they're big donors of like ADL and like Jewish organizations. I don't know. It's not enough information to know for sure what's going on, but it certainly warrants an investigation that there was a major short sell against all the different Trump organizations the day before the assassination.
They came out and said it was an accidental purchase.
Accidental purchase of multi-million. That
12 million.
That doesn't really happen. Yeah, 12 million shares, but at what price? That's a lot more than $12 million. I think it's maybe $1 billion. I don't know the funds. I'm making up numbers. But what, like $1 billion? They accidentally bought like $1 billion worth of stock or
something's
short.
off there.
Yeah, I don't believe that. It needs an investigation.
Been a lot of backlash. Destiny got a lot of heat.
Yeah.
On Twitter, they're trying to demonetize him there. What do you think about that?
I think Destiny is a total scumbag, but I don't know. I think we should just kind of. It's hard to say with the monetization because I understand. Can you put ads on people calling for the death of Trump supporters? But I obviously play the lines of free speech. So if it was up to me, I would just leave everyone up there. If you're going within the laws, I know Destiny's going borderline within the laws. So I understand he's playing it really close, calling for mocking the death of Trump supporters. But ultimately, I don't like the guy. I think he's a rotten person. But I think we allow him to just keep speaking so people can see how rotten he is. He asked me to do his podcast a few months ago, and at first I responded, and I thought about it. I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with this guy. And looking at this, I'm glad I didn't.
I wonder if he actually believes what he's saying, or if he's just putting on a show.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too. I think he probably believes some of it. Someone had an interesting point that he lost a lot of his audience because he's hardcore pro-Israel, and a lot of his audience doesn't like the Israel killing Palestinian kids.
Right.
But they hate Trump. So by him jumping in and calling to kill Trump, he might bring some of that audience back. Isn't that kind of sad?
That's crazy. I didn't know he supported Israel.
Yeah.
He's
like a leftist, but he's hardcore. Been on, that's why all the right-wing people have bringing him on their shows because they want a leftist that will defend Israel.
Yeah, I think I sided with. I mean, it's hard to take a side, but I think Palestine.
Yeah, I mean, things are complicated. Of course, it's not black and white, but it's like I've been to Israel. I've done a lot of research. Obviously, Palestine's not perfect, but ultimately, it's up what Israel's doing. They're just massacring. I'm in a lot of those Telegram channels, and they're just massacring like 100 kids a day. Just randomly like bombing them. It's sick, and it's not like the thing is. The land was Palestine in 1948, and they just came in as refugees and they started doing terrorist attacks, killing the people, massacring villages. They'll try putting this BS like, oh, this is always our land. That's completely a lie. The Jews that came and took it over are white, like I think it's like Ukraine or Poland or something, and they go in trying to say that was always their land. Now there are Jews that are from the Middle East, but the ones that came and took the land, they were typically more European Jews.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see where people side on this.
Yeah, it is interesting.
I was a big like Peterson supporter and Ben Shapiro, but now I've definitely taken a step back from those two.
Yeah, I like Peterson too, but I think he started working for the Daily Wire, and the Daily Wire is run by Ben Shapiro, and I think Ben Shapiro is directly tied in with Mossad. It's not just like he's not just a Jew. It's Israeli intelligence because he worked with Breitbart before here is where he got to start. But Breitbart, he went over to Israel, met with Netanyahu. That's where he funded his company. So you look back, a lot of these people, it's not just Jews running these countries. It's literally like tied into Israel. That's why they fired Candace. As soon as she can be critical of America, but as soon as she started criticizing Israel, they fired her.
She was gone quick.
Yeah, but look how big she is now.
She's huge now. It actually helped her, I think. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker's bigger now. It's crazy. They fire these people. If you speak truth, mainstream news will fire you. Tucker he was by far Fox's biggest person, and they fired him for no clear reason.
And that's why when Candace got fired, I kind of stopped following Ben because I felt like he used to be more authentic.
I think he was always kind of fake. We just didn't see it. I think we really saw it with the Israel thing. I think some of his stuff is still good. I think he's a smart guy, but ultimately I think his loyalty is to Israel, not America.
Yeah.
So when you have a guy acting like he's American politics and his loyalty is to a foreign country, it's like I can't respect this guy.
It's tough. Peterson though, that one hurt a lot because I feel like he's lost a step.
Yeah, because Peterson, a lot of us, a lot of people looked up to, love. I have all kinds of people, saying he helped change their life for the better when I was fighting with him online. So it sucks to go after a guy like this, but when they've lost his way, he had a Xanax addiction and just hasn't been the same since. I don't know if it's because money he's taking from the Daily Wire because you can't be critical of Israel. He's saying terrible things like go and give him hell. He went and met with Netanyahu, and they're just like just bombing out these refugee camps, schools, and he's kind of like almost mocking it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he doesn't see what's going on or doesn't care or what the issue is.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Him and Nick got in a big fight, right?
Yeah, they got into it, and Peterson just goes on there calling Nick Fuentes. He calls him like a rat, this and things. After he has his old tweets like, "Oh, you can't come in with just an insult. It's no argument." So Nick's like, "Hey, why don't you debate me on this issue?" And obviously Peterson won't because I think Nick has truth on his side. And Nick's an interesting person you mentioned because he's someone that I believe the smear tactics against. I was just told he's this racist, Nazi, white supremacist, so I didn't want anything to do with him. But I had a mutual friend of ours, a black guy in New York, who kept being like, "Oh, you got to talk to my friend Nick." And I thought it was kind of weird. This black guy was trying to get me to talk to this racist. I'm like, well, why do you want me to talk to Nick? But eventually he was persistent, so he gave me Nick's phone number, started talking to him a little bit, and I realized that he'd been lied to. You realize like how good of a talker Nick is, how well he's researched, and you start understanding why they blacklisted him.
He got banned everywhere, right?
Everywhere, like one of the most banned guys of all time.
Crazy.
He was banned at 18 years old too.
Holy crap!
That's when I went and met him in Chicago. We talked one day, and he told me the story of 18. Ben Shapiro got him banned. I think it was like Uber, like everything. Like it's not just social media. It was all the payment apps. So he couldn't all the processing centers. So he was trying to start his own network, but he couldn't even his banks. They kicked him out of everything.
He got Andrew Tated.
Yeah, and his crime being critical of Israel. So they made him out to be this like monster, and then you talk to him like, I've had connections with like Hell's Angels, Yakuza. I've never been told to disavow or disassociate any of them. And I'm hanging out with Nick, and everyone's being like, disassociate and disavow this guy. I'm like, this is kind of weird. This guy is like religious, talking Jesus, doing good things. Again, I'm personally not super religious, but I got a lot of respect for Nick, and people are telling me I have to disavow him. And it's like, you're not telling me I have to disavow the other people. I have a Hell's Angel that was in prison for like murder hanging out with, and no one mentions that. Maybe they tell me to disavow this guy. It's like,
yeah, it's insane. You hang out with murderers and stuff, and then him and Niko are the ones that get you the most heat.
Yeah, these are the ones people tell me to disavow. It's like, Niko's is nice, like you've hung out with Niko, nice, respectful, young. I shouldn't call him a kid, but I'm just like a lot older. So to me, but I met Niko, and again, I'm like, oh, this guy's. I didn't have much opinion of him. People was just like, oh, he's always causes problems. Again, I don't know if you meet Niko, but he wanted to fly out for an interview, came out, and again, extremely respectful, polite, nothing bad to say about the kid.
Yeah, he was a normal dude to me. I mean,
yeah,
you got to be careful how the media portrays people, even countries. Like, you start to wonder, like, all the stuff they're saying about Russia, North Korea, like, and China, like, is that even true? Yeah,
it's true because the media will. I think it was Malcolm X said they'll make. I forget the exact quote, but basically he'll make the good guy into the enemy. So he was against the media. So it shows they've done this for a long time. That's a great question. You mentioned these other countries like Russia. I'm not like a Russia supporter, but also not like strongly against Putin. I've always just believed the stuff about North Korea, but yeah, maybe I should take a second look.
Who knows, man? Now they're even questioning the Holocaust. So,
but that's the one thing you can't. They'll spin you from most social media still. In a lot of countries, you'll go to jail. So again, that was the one thing that makes me want to question something. When they say you can't question something, it makes me want to question it.
That's how it was with 9/11 for a long time, and now it's finally coming out, like some new info, and it's actually exciting to see that, you know.
It's crazy. They suppressed all the. Again, I don't think there's a strong enough case for who did 9/11, but I think there has been some links to Israel for sure. I'm not saying they did it, but it showed you, people can like Google the dancing Israelis and stuff, which was when 9/11 came down, there was 5 Israeli spies were watching it come down, and they were videotaping it, and they later admitted having prior knowledge. So how did these guys have prior knowledge of it? Now, maybe they just knew about it, or maybe they helped plan it. I have no idea the answer to that, but it should be like, but you can't even talk about it. And there's also, after 9/11 too, a network of I think 200 to like 500, Israeli spies got busted.
Damn.
And they were all through like Florida. There was explosive experts even. There was a lot of them were living in the same small town in Florida. I don't think it was Hollywood, Florida, but it was near there. So most of the hijackers and a bunch of the Israeli spies were living like a mile from each other.
Holy crap.
I mean, again, I don't say for sure this is something, but it's suspicious and things should be investigated. So it's like, it's quite possible, did Saudi Arabia, Israel, CIA, did they do it together? I don't know.
You start to wonder how many things Israel has its hands in, because if they're controlling stuff in the U.S., which is one of the top countries, they could be running the whole world for all we know.
Yeah, it's hard to say the whole world, but they definitely have their fingers in a lot of things. You even look at like when ISIS was going around, Israel, Mossad, and CIA were giving ISIS weapons, or they were giving a organization that directly with ISIS weapons, and they were handing the weapons to ISIS. We knew that, but kept giving them weapons.
Wow.
And Israel was even treating ISIS soldiers that were injured in their hospitals. And this was like, this was the enemy of America. So how is this our greatest ally when they're fighting along? And ISIS never attacked Israel.
That is crazy, man. Yeah, everything we were taught growing up, you got to start questioning it.
Yeah, no, I've been to Israel. I was told they were our greatest ally. So it's not like I'm some like, crazy anti-Israel person, but I go there and you start digging, you start seeing all these holes, you start being like, maybe I was lied to about quite a bit.
You probably can't go anymore, right?
I wouldn't risk it right now. I've been extremely critical of that country. They probably wouldn't let me in, and if they did, I'd be scared they would kill me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, man. That's nuts, dude. When you can't trust your own government agencies, that's where it gets scary, I think.
Yeah, and I would love to go there and do reporting, and especially in the West Bank. I know Gaza is way too dangerous, but the West Bank is people that don't know. There's Gaza, which is where Hamas is, but there's also the West Bank, which is not run by Hamas, but Israel is also attacking that, taking land.
Wow.
So they can't give an excuse for that. They call them settlers, but it's really like terrorists. These Jewish people come in, lots of them from America and stuff, and they just go in and start taking Palestinian homes, lands, burning their fields. Like every international organization has called this illegal, and they'll quietly condemn it, but they won't make a big deal out of it.
Crazy.
I mean, the U.S. condemns it, but we allow it, and they're in there just like killing Palestinians, burning homes. And these are the good ones that don't do armed resistance. So it makes you be like, okay, maybe this is why Hamas did an armed resistance.
Yeah, it is nuts, man. And I know Vivek's really against these agencies. He wanted to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Secret Service is getting a lot of heat right now. Where do you stand on that debate?
Yeah, I like Vivek. I like a lot of his stuff. I don't know him enough to go in detail. Yeah, the Secret Service Trump thing is just wild. I don't even know what to make of it. I'm trying not to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, same.
But it's
but each day more and more new evidence.
There's a lot of holes. Like they're saying things like they knew he was there for like 30 minutes or 26 minutes, something like that. They were watching him. The snipers, the police were they were inside the place he climbed up.
What? They were in the building?
So they didn't want to put him on the roof. So they said the police were like just hanging out inside as he climbed it.
What?
Also, how did he get a ladder there? I mean, you can't move a ladder unless you have a truck. Does this kid even have a truck? Like, he just walked through the rally holding an AR-15. Like, all these questions are like, supposedly he was actually on the radar of Secret Service for over an hour.
What?
They spotted him early with like a rangefinder out there scoping it out, and like no one did anything.
What the hell?
Did you see the videos where he's climbing the building and the Trump supporters are yelling, "Hey,
yeah, I
guys,
saw
on the
that
roof with
one.
the gun," and the cops are just like chilling there. So it makes you, is it incompetence or is it more? And I don't want to jump to conclusions yet, but it definitely seems like something's there.
Dude, it does. I think we'll probably know within the next few weeks.
Yeah, or they'll keep burying it and covering it up.
I hope not, man. I think they might try it again if it was planned.
No, it's kind of scary.
It's super scary.
Because you wonder who is trying to kill him, what's their purpose. Oh, another interesting thing is they had the debate a couple weeks ago. Everyone realized Biden has no chance.
Yeah.
And they also tried killing him the day before the RNC.
Really?
So Trump hadn't named a vice president yet. That means if he'd been killed, the delegates could have picked his vice president. So it's like, he would have had no say over it. They could have put Nikki Haley or anyone in there.
Wow.
So it really makes you wonder. Seems like some kind of deep state operation.
Yeah, who knows, man? I mean, who knows who's running behind the scenes? It's definitely not Biden.
No, that's great for conspiracy theories. That's a great point because it's very clear that if Biden's not running the country, so if Biden's not, then who is?
Yeah.
That perfectly shows you the president doesn't run the country.
Absolutely.
So that's when you got to look at his cabinet, like the head guys. You look at all the head guys running it, and you start seeing them. A lot of them have dual allegiance to Israel.
Follow the money too.
Yeah, all the big corporations. There's always multiple people fighting for power, so it's never one person, I would say, but there's also multiple. But there are people that seem to be the biggest power players.
Yeah. What do you think of Trump's VP pick? I know people were really critical on Twitter about it.
I'm not a huge fan. I need to do more research. I like some things about him, but again, he's extremely, extremely pro-Israel, and that's something where I'm extremely not pro-Israel. I think they've completely taken over the Republican Party, or both parties.
Israel has?
Yeah.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah, so it's like when you see this, and you're talking about maybe going to war with Iran. It's like yesterday they started saying they thought Iran was behind the assassination.
What?
But we all just laughed at them, and now that already went away. Yeah, no, but these guys, they control the politics because multiple ways, but one of the biggest one is through AIPAC, which is the Israeli lobby. But all foreign lobbies, they have to register under FARA, so you can see where their money going. Israel lobby is the only foreign lobby that doesn't register. And it's supposed to. There's no reason why they don't. JFK was actually fighting really hard to make them register right when he happened to get shot.
Crazy.
And then since then, everyone's kind of left it alone. So they can completely control our politics, and we can't track their money.
Nuts. It's
so bad that they brag about it on Twitter. I think they've won the last 300 or 400 people they picked on the election. So they're just running through, destroying our politicians, they basically pick our politicians, and then they do whatever Israel tells them. So it's a big problem. We have to make them register under FARA, but the problem is the politicians have to do that, and the politicians are all bought off.
Wow. I just found out today Mexico hired an Israel president, a woman.
Or, a Jewish woman.
Jewish, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tracked that much, but it's a little strange.
Very strange.
There's very, very few Jewish people in Mexico. Again, I don't want to say every rabbit hole is a conspiracy because there are just random things. I haven't really followed her. She could just be, a charismatic person that makes sense. But when you start seeing the same patterns over and over, some of them are a little strange.
Yeah, and considering Mexico has killed 32 presidents, why would she be the one to lead them?
Yeah, they're assassinating people like crazy, and then she gets in, and I don't know enough about her to know her allegiances to Israel and that stuff, but it's definitely a little strange when the Jewish population in Mexico, I believe, is less than 1%.
Yeah, it's not. So what do you think Israel's trying to accomplish? Do you think there's a hidden agenda?
I definitely think there's a hidden agenda. How deep it goes, I'm still trying to research and figure out. I think they definitely manipulate, for sure, American politics. I've done a lot of research into that, but it seems like they definitely strongly control, most European politics.
Wow.
Because you can see how, Britain, France, all these countries have anti-Semitic laws, but they don't have anti-laws for any other race. Why do you need one person to have an anti-Semitic law? Well, the funny thing is, they're the only race that has their own word for racism. There's not, if I don't like Asians, I'm just racist. I'm not anti, what kind of Asian are you? I'm not anti, whatever you are. It's But they're the only people that have their own word for racism. They're the only, even American politicians pass anti-Semitic hate speech laws. Why? What's their definition of anti-Semitic too is it's always changing, they say. So being critical of Israel, they say, makes you anti-Semitic and hate Jews.
Yeah.
See, they try spinning this narrative of always calling you Jew hater, which is absolutely insane. I don't hate Jews. I don't want them to control our country. We were just talking about, we met through one of my good Jewish friends.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, you hate Jews. But Derek Moneyberg connected us. He's the guy, an amazing guy. So it's not that I hate Jews. It's I don't want Jews in Israel controlling our country.
Which is a reasonable take when you put it that way. But they'll label you as anti-Semitic.
Oh, yeah. I'm constantly called anti-Semitic, Jew hater. That constantly try to write everyone that I do business with, tell them not to work.
Wow.
Including guys like Derek. They'll be like, oh, he hates Jews. And Derek's yeah.
And Derek knows
off.
you,
Yeah.
so.
No, luckily, they've only got, maybe they got one seminar canceled, is the only thing they've done. Because people in the fight world, I mostly do business with, with friends, and people in the fight world for the most part is kind of off.
Yeah.
But they did manage to get a seminar in Brooklyn. I think it was owned by Jews is what it was. They canceled one of my seminars.
Well, that wasn't meant to be.
No, and I was just annoyed because I had that booked with Nate Diaz. I didn't want to pull him into my political. I didn't want.
Yeah, Nate.
If he doesn't speak politics publicly, I don't want to drag him into my. That pissed me off. But I was able to book another seminar for us an hour later.
Yeah, I noticed the Diaz, they don't say about politics.
Yeah, I mean,
respect.
No reason to. They followed a little bit, but not as closely as me. And so I always tell them you don't need to jump into this. Why alienate? unless you're really paying attention and really passionate about it, you shouldn't speak about it.
Yeah, I'd say you're the most outspoken fighter in politics right now.
Yeah, it is funny. I've had people try to be like, when I first started speaking politics, like, I'm going to tell the Diaz brothers on you. Like, these guys are some of my best friends. You really, whether they do or don't agree with me on something, you really think they're going to care what I'm tweeting?
Yeah.
It shows you how, like, pathetic people's friendships are. They think, like, some tweet is going to break up a friendship of mine that's been, like, 20 years.
Well, people my age just hop friends like they're just, no
loyalty. It's
loyalty.
Disgusting. I see that, especially, like, podcaster, streamer. They'll throw someone under the bus and they do something bad. Here's my take. If my friend does something I really don't like, I'm not going to publicly condemn them. I'm going to call them privately and have a conversation with them. I'm not going to jump out and, like, if Niko does something I don't like, or he's not one of my best friends, but we became friends with him. But I still know enough at this point where if there's something I don't like, I'm not going to go out there and be like, oh, it's Niko up here. I would give him a private phone call and be like, oh, I don't like you did that. You just never should publicly bash your friends, in my opinion.
Yeah,
even if they do something bad.
There's been a lot of that with Dr. Disrespect, Cody Co. There seems to be a new one every week or two.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Just no loyalty. Like, have a little loyalty to your friend, especially these things, they're going to last a week, then everyone's forget. But they just want to jump out and be like, oh, I can't believe he did that. Get a little like, when I see celebrities and stuff do this, it just disgusts me.
It's cringe.
Like, yeah, I always have such loyalty to my friends.
They're trying to save face.
No, exactly. But it's not how you save face. You lose a friendship. You don't. It's just, I grew up super loyal with, the whole crew I came with, the Diaz brothers, Gil Melendez. So to me, it's all about loyalty. So when I see this, I'm like, wow, And occasionally a friend will do something I really don't like, and then I'll give him a private phone call and have a private one-on-one conversation with him. I'm not going to go out and blast him on Twitter.
That's respect, though.
Yeah, and I just can't believe this generation, like, they don't understand friendships.
It's soft, dude. It's super soft. You say the wrong thing, they'll cut you off.
Yeah, they get scared that if you're like, oh, you said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
He said a gay slur. I think I don't know what we're allowed to say on the show, but they'll freak out. It's like, give me a break.
A red flag to me actually is when someone agrees with everything I say. Like, I don't want you as a friend if you're going to do that.
Yeah, you don't want a bunch of yes people.
So
a lot
cringe.
of guys don't understand that about. That's perfect with women because women are used to guys agreeing with them. A lot of times if you don't, you're gonna have a lot more luck. Girls are just so sick of all these guys agreeing with everything.
Yeah,
they
these
say.
simps.
Yeah, the girls hate that. Like, girls would way rather have a guy that'll sit and argue with them and think something totally different. Then they'll be a little turned on versus some guy that just kisses their ass and pretends to agree with everything. Like, people hate that. I want to know people's real opinions.
No, 100%.
I have people that I disagree with on a lot of stuff, but I have a lot of respect for them because I always know their real opinion.
Yeah, it's okay to disagree. That's what people don't realize.
You can be good friends and disagree on a lot of stuff,
Yeah, but they're using politics to really just stir up friendships and families and
yeah,
terrible.
I spent most of my life in New York and San Francisco, so I've had lots of liberal friends. They're still my friends. We could have polite discussions where we disagree, but I'm not going to be like, oh, I hate this guy because we disagree on some political stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, that was crazy what they did with Trump, the vaccine. They tore apart so many like families and friendships. I'm very fortunate where I didn't really lose. There was one person that was, kind of a far off family member that I had a falling out with over the vaccine, but it's fortunately only one person.
Well, now he or she probably realizes you were right. So.
They never apologized, but yeah, they probably realized I was right. But it would be nice. Another thing is too, if you up on something, you should usually give the person a call and apologize instead of just pretend like it never happened.
Yeah.
There's a few times where I've screwed up on something. People don't realize like how far a phone call can go and be like, man, I really screwed up. People will generally forgive you when you do that, but if you don't, they generally won't.
Yeah. No, you don't want to live with that resentment ever. It can drain you.
Yeah, but people, like I said, no one's apologized to me over, not getting the vaccine, not wanting to wear the mask, despite all it was none of my close friends, but I got a lot of hate in San Francisco.
In San Fran? Yeah. You needed a car to eat at restaurants there, right?
Yeah.
They were like New York.
And I had some people that would own some small restaurants to let me eat there and friends-owned restaurants and stuff, but it made me be like, man, screw these people.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Yeah, I can't knock people because I grew up left, actually.
Yeah.
I grew up in Jersey. Used to watch the news every day. So I can't knock people for their beliefs because it's just so programmed. They don't even know.
Exactly. I grew up a lot more left, too. My parents were always liberal. But the left and right has switched quite a bit, too.
Yeah.
So that's why it gets complex. So it's not like what right and left is always switching. Like, because I've always been anti-war, pro-free speech, and that's why I kind of consider myself the right. But then as soon as Israel war hit, I realized all these guys were grifters because they were acting like they were anti-war, but they jumped all of a sudden pro-war for Israel, and they wanted to be against free speech for Israel. So I go, oh, the right and left just constantly switches. Because before, when I was young, the left was against the Iraq war, all that.
Yeah.
And then the right became against the Ukrainian war, and now the right is for the Israel war. So it goes back and forth.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So you just label as independent now?
Yeah, I think I lean more rightish, but overall, it's like both sides are full of it.
Yeah. Yeah, left has gone a long way from what it was growing up.
Yeah, they've gone pretty crazy. So it's like, You see like those weird tranny stuff they're pushing on
Oh my
kids.
God.
It's like
the San Fran Pride Parade. You see that?
I think, yeah. I mean, I've been at some of those, so to me it wasn't shocking.
Oh,
at
you
all.
go to those?
Dude, there was no. I mean, I don't like go to them, but I've lived in San Francisco for almost 20 years, so I would go by my house. So I've seen all that stuff for years. So I think a lot of people were shocked.
I was shocked.
There's one in San Francisco called the Folsom Street Fair that goes far beyond what you've seen there. Some reporter needs to go there and film it, but I don't want to go and film it. It's just I went there one year. I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't. There's things you'll see that you'll never unsee.
Dude.
Showed up, there's like a guy chained to a fire hydrant with a sign, "Piss on me," and guys lined up pissing on him, and just dudes. I got scared and left, but it was just it was disgusting.
Holy crap, man. That's scary having kids in this environment.
Yeah, and especially they're pushing the trans thing so heavy. It can manipulate. I have several friends whose daughters fell for that. I've noticed it's happening a lot more to daughters than men. I think it's a lot of these girls, when they kind of go through a phase, the teen year, especially if they're not real pretty, don't have a lot of friends, they'll get sucked into this like if they go trans, they have a group all of a sudden. They get treated better by the teachers. They have some of their peers treat them better. So it's sad, especially when you have these doctors pushing surgery on them.
Yeah.
I think most of these kids won't get the surgery and they'll snap out of it in a couple of years. But the ones that, man, do get the surgery, it's just disgusting. The doctors that do that should be, I think I got spinned on Twitter for saying they should be hung.
I think they'll regret it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of these kids are finally suing the doctors. That should be big.
That's
I think
good.
Some of these doctors get bankrupt. It's going to stop.
Yeah.
It's just totally, putting a kid through a sex change before 18, it's like, give me a break.
Your mind is not developed till 26.
No, and that's what it should be, like at least 21 for the sex change, in my opinion.
At least, dude.
Yeah, it's such
can't even drink.
If they do them at all. I don't even know if they should do them. It's like, if I went to a doctor and I'm like, I want to cut my arm off, they'd be like, you're crazy. But I can be in and I want to cut my cock off, and they're like, yeah, okay. That doesn't make any sense. It's just insane.
They're probably charging a ton for it, too.
Yeah, and a lot of it, I think they're trying to get the government to cover it. And
What? Oh, my gosh. It's terrible, man. Yeah, teenage rate is really high for females.
Yeah, that's a real problem. Like, I think the kids, they say, are a lot more anxiety and depressed than ever before.
I think it's at an all-time high, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason, it's hard to say the exact reasons. Part of it might be social media. I don't think social media is good for kids. You know? It wasn't around when I'm a kid, and I'm thankful. I think kids aren't eating good. They're not exercising. Is there PE in the schools anymore? Not really.
Yeah, but it's a joke.
Yeah, it should be like hardcore. If you watch PE from like the 60s, these kids are sprinting. They're all ripped. They're doing like pull-ups, push-ups. There's like no real PE. I've actually been pushing for the last year or so, saying that we should make all men in high school do one fight every year. Imagine if you had to spend 2 months training, you had to fight either in front of the whole school or at least your PE class. You had to go in cage, fight another dude. It would just snap you out of it. And it would just like mentally, it would make you so much tougher. You'd be like, oh, I ain't got time to be depressed. I got to train. I have to get punched in the face. I'm going to get beat up in front of my peers. It would just make you, it would make them better men, in my opinion. They would never do that, unfortunately, but it would do so much good to our society.
They would love that. Sean Strickland would advocate for that, I think.
Sean Strickland would probably go beat those poor kids up.
Yeah, he just beat up a SEAL, right? Like a week ago.
Oh, man, I was there that day. That was
you were there?
Brutal.
Jesus.
Oh, man.
Why didn't he tap out?
He was too tough for his own good. I actually tried being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't finish this. And Sean was kind of brutal. Instead of knocking the guy out, he was just brutalizing him. He would knock him down, not quite knock him out, drop him with leg shots, drop him with body shots. It was brutal, man. I watched it for like 25 minutes. It was hard to watch.
Damn.
The guy was tough.
He wanted to prove a point.
He did okay the first round. He's actually a really tough dude, good fighter, but not at Sean's league. You know, Sean's just a level above him and just got annihilated. Someone almost should have jumped in and stopped it, but
Sean fought Niko too. Were you there for that one?
I was there for that too. Yeah, I actually went and picked up Niko because I wanted him to train one of my Muslim fighters because he was Muslim to cross promote because the guy's a great fighter but not a big audience. Mm-hmm. And this Niko's like, oh, I'm gonna spar Sean first this morning. I'm like, no, that's you cannot do that. And I tried talking him out of it, but he's just like, oh, I already gave Sean my word, which I get. If you give someone your word, you kind of got it. So I respect Niko for that. So I just go, all right. So just go in there and fight him. No, he's gonna hurt you. Just take your beating like a man. Don't cry about it. And he did, man. He took his beating like a man. Never said anything bad about Sean after.
Wow.
So at least not much about him. I think Sean went way too hard. But
Sean got a lot of heat for that.
Yeah, but to be fair, though, I did warn Niko what he was walking to. That's why I said, hey, if you're walking into this, he's going to hurt you. So, and he took a beating well.
Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't go down.
No, props to Niko. And apparently you're not supposed to go that hard in sparring. Is that true?
Typically not. Sometimes like 2 top pros will, but like if a guy comes in and spars me that's not a top pro, I'm not going to.
You're going like 60%.
I'm not going to load him like that. Yeah, I think Niko had a concussion and wasn't even really because he went out, I hooked him up with Nate Diaz. He wanted to go to Nate Diaz's camp, and he went out there the next day or something, and Nate sparred him. Nate was just playing, but he still shouldn't have been sparring with a concussion.
Damn.
I think he realized like after he's like, oh, he's like a little confused with it. I think after that, I'm like, bro, you got to take a week off training. You're like, you shouldn't. I get it. You're out at Nate's and he asked you to spar. You can't really say no, but like you got to like rest your head for a week or two.
Yeah. Damn. Shout out to Niko. That's a tough
No,
mentality.
he's tough, and that's why people hate on Niko, but I respect him. He's tough, hard worker. He said, he hit me up for an interview, asked me when I'm in Miami, and I'm like, maybe a couple weeks. He's like, well, can I fly out to you? Sure. Flies out the next day. He asked, hey, you think you can set up something with Nate? I'm like, okay, I like you. I'll call Nate. He says, yeah. Can I fly out tomorrow? Sure. Flies out there. It's like, the kid's a hard worker.
Nice. I love that. Where can
That's
people
how you
keep?
get stuff done, though.
Yeah, 100%. Where can people keep up with you and what you got going on next, man?
Yeah, Jake Shields, AJJ on X. I'm actually just started YouTube, Jake Shields, AJJ. I'm started doing a little podcast. I need to figure out how to build that. I haven't started Rumble yet, but going to do that. Jake Shields on Instagram. But right now, X is the best spot. Probably add my YouTube because hopefully I'll be having a lot of content on there.
Yeah.
And Rumble. I haven't made the Rumble yet. Hopefully I'll be able to get Jake Shields, AJJ just to keep it same,
clean,
the same all the way across.
Let's do it, man. We'll link below. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, check out Jake's stuff below. See you tomorrow.